This article was written by Leandro de Matos Bento Soares, me, Raphael Nascimento, and Marcos dos Santos. And it's a pleasure to be here at CIMAC to present this paper. So, as an introduction, I'd like to present the research problem. This problem is the supplier selection problem for multi-criteria decision analysis. The main research question for this article is: how can Brazilian Airforce choose the best aircraft purchasing operation for increasing COVID-19 vaccination logistics? And having by hypothesis the structuring of the problem by VFT method and the application of AHP Gaussian to choose the best alternative. Here we have some related works regarding supplier selection problem. So we have in 2021 TAL using AHP process for ground handling equipment purchasing. We have a supplier selection problem on AHP also for total cost ownership by Buta in 2002, which is a very important article for understanding the essence of supplier selection problem, which is a very discussed. It has lots of discussion on this problem in the literature. Also, a very important related work is the work by Sinelli, Mark Sinelli, of how to support the application of multiple criteria decision analysis, where we have this taxonomy where we can see how multi-criteria decision analysis is very important and how we can develop it in lots of sorts of problems. Also, we have some Ricardo de Icaza talking about a decision support system for container port selection using multiple objective decision analysis. This article is from 1990, which is a very important one. It's very good for understanding also the supplier selection problem via multi-criteria. We have Rolf Kinney, which is a related work on value-focused thinking, 1996, where he explains how we use the VFT for structuring problems via objective connections. Also, we have the Marcos dos Santos et al. Multi-criteria decision making in the selection of warships. This is the article that presents the AHP Gaussian to the world, and how we can manage this, to how the axiomatic structure is implemented, and how we can use Gaussian factor to generate weights of inter-criteria weights in a quicker way, right? We have von der Embers and Tracy on 1999 about the impact of supplier selection criteria and supplier involvement on manufacturing performance, also talking about the supplier selection problem. And we have Moraes DC using VFT in Brazil. So this set of related works regarding our problem is very important for contextualization. So the methodology that we've implemented was that we have here in Brazil this need of having new aircraft to make the logistics of vaccination. So we used VFT over Brazilian Airforce strategy to make sure that the criteria was valid for the problem. In the second step, we have generated the criteria for the MCDA via VFT analysis. And then in the third step, we have the application of AHP Gaussian to rank the best alternatives. So here is the detailing of the application of VFT. So we have the strategical objective, which is an objective of 10 years, 20 years. And in the documentation of Brazilian Airforce, we have this strategical objective, which was to strengthen the control and the defense of airspace and the integration of national territory. So it's very important to use VFT under the point of view that we cannot generate criteria that are out of our strategical objectives. So this is when we use VFT, it's just like when we pass a web line between the areas of a company or an enterprise, in this case of Brazilian Airforce, where we can connect our efforts to grow. So here we have this strategical objective, and then in this gray area we have these three mean objectives, which are the, for us to strengthen the control and defense of the national territory with airspace integration. We have to improve Air Force operation, we have to improve aircraft infrastructure, and we have to improve training. So how the purchasing of new aircraft to combat COVID-19 and to help the vaccination logistics, how this is inserted in this context. So in a strategical objective context, we have to amplify the operational promptness, and then we need to have new means of availability of aerial air force. So we can see that by connecting these issues, then these objectives, we can then analyze the problem and structure the problem in order that we are able to generate the correct criteria into the decision problem. So that's the reason why we use the VFT, because problems should be assessed in a way that we can generate correct criteria. So then the criteria considered after this analysis was price, cruising speed, autonomy, length, and wingspan. So the description was that, price is required for purchasing, yes, in all the scenarios, and the nature of this criteria is minimization. Cruising speed is the maximum engine capacity, rendering speed, yeah, and the nature of this criteria is maximization also. Then we have the autonomy, length, and wingspan. The autonomy is maximization, so I want a plane to go further, go higher distances, and the other two are minimization, right? Okay, so this was the first methodological way we used VFT. Now we're going to use the AHP Gaussian to make this decision for us, to help us to make this decision. So what is new in this AHP Gaussian procedure? Well, we have these 7 steps where we enter in this MCDA approach. So in the first step, we establish the decision matrix, then we calculate the average of the alternatives. When I say average, it is, yes, the statistical average of the alternative. Then we have the third step, where we calculate the standard deviation of the alternative for each criterion. Fourthwise, we're going to calculate the Gaussian factor, which is the variation coefficient for each criterion. Then in the fifth step, multiply the Gaussian factor by the decision matrix. In the sixth step, we normalize the results, and then we obtain the new ranking. So we're going to go step by step on what article have established. So in the first step, in the decision matrix, we formed it with the information from the criteria, right, regarding each alternative. So we have chosen 3 different alternatives, which was the Airbus A330, Boeing B767, and Boeing 777. Yes, and then we've inserted all the information regarding price, cruise speed, max autonomy, length, wingspan. So this is the first step. So we have this second step where we normalize the matrix, and this is a very important also this is a very important step, because why do we normalize? This normalization has nothing to do with the statistical normalization. This is a way that we use to make the make different scales to speak with themselves. So we have this normalization. If we have a maximization criteria, we will use the decision matrix, and then we will take the AIJ, which is the performance of the criterion given, of an alternative given one criterion, and then we're going to divide by the sum of the column here, and then we'll have a situation where we can make mathematically these scales to meet each other. If we have a minimization criteria, then we're going to use the inverse factor on the performance. And this is a very important thing. The sum of the columns should be equal to 1. So if we see here in price, we have dot 34, dot 41, dot 23, sorry, in order that they should be 1. So steps 3 to 6, we have the calculation of the average, the standard deviation calculation, and the Gaussian factor, which is the variation coefficient. And then after we calculate the Gaussian factor, we'll then normalize the Gaussian factor, just like we did with the previous matrix. And then this normalized Gaussian factor will be the ways that are going to be used to make the final ranking. So now we have the seventh step, which is the aggregation procedure, where we will calculate the GIJ, right, the sum of GIJ times the weighing of the normalized G factor. So who is this GIJ? This GIJ is the value of the normalized matrix, right? So we're gonna multiply it by the way, and then we're gonna have this ranking over here where Boeing B767 was the winner, altogether with second place Airbus A330, and then Boeing B777. And this is a very important thing that we can see here, that the price was a very important factor, important criteria, and Boeing B777 was in the worst scenario here, right? So the conclusions that we can establish from this research is that Boeing B767-300F could be chosen as the best alternative for carrying vaccination throughout Brazilian states, considering 5 criteria analysis via AHP Gaussian method. VFT was used to structure the problem via fundamental objectives of Brazilian Airforce, thus making viable the assessment of the main criteria that would be involved in the study. Main limitations of this study so far was that we couldn't analyze the impacts of the new plane purchasing on personal activities, and we could see that it is possible also to select suppliers via combined study. For future research, we would like to hear more experts to understand how this purchase would impact as in a post-purchase on personnel. So we would like to understand how this learning curve would occur in these situations. So this is for future research. We would like to thank you a lot for you from CEMAC, and it's a pleasure to be here. Here is Raphael, Leandro, and Marcos dos Santos. Much thanks for you, all of you, professors and colleagues. All the very best. Cheers.
Thank you very much. Muchísimas gracias por su exposición y vamos a dar espacio para las preguntas. Entonces, a los presentes, si tienen alguna pregunta, por favor, háganmelo saber. ¿Alguna pregunta? Bueno, don Rafael, al parecer no tenemos preguntas. Entonces, sin embargo, si surgen dudas, luego lo pueden hacer directamente con el profesor Nascimento Dos Santos y si no, a este medio. Les invito que se queden conectados en la sala. Volveremos a las 10 de la mañana con la siguiente presentación. Muchísimas gracias y que estén muy bien.
Thank you, all of you. Cheers.
Thank you very much.